Shopping at a thrift store is a delightful experience, but sometimes it can be hard to find clothes in your exact size. What's the matter? Found a pair of jeans, but the waist is too big for you? Well, there's a simple solution. Don't be shy. DIY. You mean to say that I can re-sew the waist of these pants according to my own measurements and have them fit me perfectly? Why, most certainly. So go on, dust off your trusty sewing machine and make your denim dreams come true. Okay, hi, it's Sophia, and in case that infomercial left anything unclear, today we are resizing the waist of this pair of jeans. I hope you don't mind the creative liberties I took with the introduction there. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun. I picked up this pair at a local charity shop for just €2, and otherwise they fit me perfectly except for at the waist, which is just a tiny bit too big on me. Now my plan is to start by removing 2 of the belt loops at the back here and then sew 2 darts on the back side by following this line that is actually already sewn in the pockets. So hopefully we will end up with an inconspicuous seam that is just not too obvious. And if this is your first time here, my name is indeed Sophia and I make upcycling videos whenever I feel like it. So subscribe if you want to join me on this journey. But anyways, let's get to the sewing. I started by putting the jeans on, obviously, and pinching the waistband to see how much excess fabric there was. This turned out to be about 3 centimeters, so that means that I would have to make 1.5 centimeter darts on both sides to take out 6 centimeters total. First of all, I think I'm going to start by removing the stitches on the belt loops here so that I can take those off. And I think I'm also going to undo some of the stitches here on the waistband so that I can open it up, and when I'm finished I'll be able to just hide the fabric inside it in a lot neater way. And that's actually something that I saw Wendy do in her video where she showed how she downsizes her jeans, so I'm gonna try that trick on these ones as well. But first of all we need to undo the stitches and remove the belt loops. So here I am ripping out the stitches of the belt loops, and it actually took me this long to figure out that part of the loop is actually hidden inside of the waistband. But that's not really an issue, we will just sew it right back in there in the end. Now that I have undone the stitches and removed the belt loop, this is what I'm left with. As you can see, I have like a hole here between the waistband and the back of the jeans. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna fold the back of the jeans so that it lines up with this line on the back pocket here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 3 centimeters off this side, so that's gonna be 1.5 centimeters, like so. So when I do that on both sides, I will have taken out 6 centimeters total. But obviously, if you're gonna do this, you need to take your own measurements and figure out how much you need to take out. But I'm just gonna start putting in some pins and kind of figure out where I need to sew. And now I'm just gonna go to my sewing machine and sew a straight stitch along these pins here. For the sewing, I used a thicker cotton thread meant for denim and a regular bobbin thread. I also made sure to go very slowly, especially on the thicker parts where the denim is folded over multiple times. This way I would end up with a cleaner end result. After I was done with the sewing, I decided to cut the extra fabric open so that I'd be able to make the seam lay flat on the inside. And I was having kind of a hard time with the scissors, so I ended up using a seam ripper to get over the thicker parts. Now that I've finished this dart here on the back of the jeans, I'm gonna move on to the waistband. So what I'm gonna do is sew on the inside of this waistband, but first I need to find what is the center of the waistband so that it lines up nicely with this seam right here. And what I'm gonna do is just gently push a pin on only one layer, like not all the way through, but only on one layer of the waistband. And then I can just flip the waistband over like so, and I can easily see where the center should be. So now I'm just gonna twist it like this, and I can actually take the pin out at this point. So then what I need to do is measure 1.5 centimeters on the middle of the inside of the waistband. And then I'm gonna just taper it ever so slightly on the edges of the waistband so that it kind of follows the shape of the seam that I created here. But just like a couple of millimeters less on the ends would be enough. So now that I have all of the pins on the inside of the waistband, I can sew a straight stitch and try to just follow these pins as closely as I can. I did a back stitch on the start and the finish, and again went as slowly as necessary, basically going one stitch at a time. After sewing, I cut the extra fabric open on the inside. The next thing to do is to just sew this belt loop back in place. And what I'm gonna do is to just sew it on the right side of the back of the pants like so. And that way this part of the belt loop is gonna be neatly hidden underneath this waistband. So what I'm gonna do is to just sew a straight stitch across the belt loop right here. To secure the belt loop in place, I simply sewed a straight stitch going back and forth 3 times. So now I can just put this waistband back in place and secure it with some pins. So now I can top stitch the waistband on the top and the bottom, and after that I can just stitch this belt loop back in place. For the waistband, I started sewing a few stitches length into the original stitching to make sure that it was kept in place. After that, it was simply a matter of going as slowly as necessary, being especially cautious on the bulky seams. And lastly, I sewed the belt loop in place, again going back and forth 2 or 3 times. Since there were so many layers of fabric to go through, I needed 2 hands to handle the back stitching, one to hold down the reverse stitch lever and one to wind the hand wheel. But slow and steady wins the race, and I was able to finish stitching the belt loops. I am so happy with how these jeans turned out, especially since this wasn't the easiest thrift over project ever and sewing denim is a pain in the ass. But what matters most is that these jeans finally fit me. The seams are actually kind of unnoticeable, if I do say so myself. And now I'm gonna get so much use from these pants. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, you can leave a like down below or subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Sofiamainen. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!